First of all, I see no evidence historically for there to be racist revenge narratives, or I've
Oh
not
yeah,
really.
Black Lives Matter burning down half the country was just like it was just a normal
Yeah,
thing. It
half
had nothing
America
to do
just
with
doesn't
race,
exist
right?
anymore.
Yeah, literally, if F's in the chat for half of America that's no
Yeah,
longer
it's like the
here.
Great Scar in
Yeah,
World of Warcraft. It's just like a
literally
big
F's
trench across the
chat for half
country.
of America.
Well, I want to welcome y'all to the political. This is going to be probably our most controversial topic to date, for sure.
Uh-oh.
So that's, of course, why I reached out to you, wonderful people. Now, simple rules: don't break TOS. So, Mythic politics, please don't say the N word. I know you're big on that. Just
Yeah.
like no N word saying. Basic things, because I believe Brittany and Gremloe are both on Twitch streaming, so let's not ruin it for them.
Yes,
Cool.
please.
So with that. So how it's gonna work is 2v2, and then we'll do opening statements, and then I'll open the floor. So the question is here: are we being replaced? Because I'm hearing us whites we're getting replaced, and the question here is that bad? Is it happening? What's that really mean? So are we being replaced? Brittany, opening statement.
Yes. No. Okay. Hi, I'm Brittany, and I host Politically Provoked, and it's not going to be on Twitch, but you can find it on Odyssey, DLive Trovo. But we will be doing our own content or arguing with Twitch people on Twitch, and that is Provoked Brittany. As far as us being replaced, yeah, I do think that that is happening. When I talk about being replaced, though, I'm more so referring to white people becoming a minority. And I do see that as absolutely the case. And it's happening pretty fast right before our eyes. So, yeah, that's more along the lines of what I'm thinking of. The topic as great replacement, it doesn't matter to me if there's some kind of great force behind it or not. I don't really care. I just want it to stop. And that's more so my stance.
All right, Mio.
Yo, I'm Mio. You can find me pretty much only on Politically Provoked. You go to Odyssey, search Politically Provoked. You'll find a lot of content with me there. You'll find all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, essentially, I'm expecting these other guys to try and bring this conversation into the realm of like conspiracy theories and all of this other stuff, which really isn't as relevant to this conversation as the fact that demographic replacement is happening and that it's bad, and we want it to stop. And it's really that simple. And there's good reasons for this. There's historical precedent behind our concerns. You look at Rhodesia and South Africa when whites handed over political power to other groups who had racial animosity against them. And we see how that went in both of those places. It basically ended in genocide or violence, or at the very least displacement. So we like to avoid that. I think that there's a big issue with people coming here that are not speaking the same language as us, refusing to learn it. And I don't think you can really have a country with people who can't communicate. So I think it's bad for those two reasons specifically. And yeah, that's what I'm here to argue.
Alrighty. Mythic politics, your camera just went out.
Oh, did it?
It's still up on
No,
my
it
end.
didn't. Yeah, it's fine for me.
Oh, is it just me? Is it just me?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's just me. Never mind. Mythic politics, go.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mythic Politics Everywhere. I'm a political conspiracy author, and Mio is correct that I'm going to be talking, probably contextualizing this as white replacement anxiety, white anxiety being sublimated by overarching conspiracy theories. I think what I've heard so far, RE demographic displacement. I'm not sure if that's quite true. I don't think that I'm going to be talking about how there's not an overarching campaign to do that. I'm going to be talking about how a lot of the claims here aren't true and just based on fears, anxieties, and hurt feelings. So that's going to be my position pretty much.
All right, Gremloe.
Yeah, I'm Gremloe on Twitch, Pajamatariat on Twitter. Really excited to hear ridiculous, debunked great replacement theories from, a century ago. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about Camus and the demographics of destiny. But, yeah, can't wait to hear the ridiculous, conspiracy theories that are going to be coming out today.
All right, floor is open.
Didn't
All right.
you?
Well, I'm
Didn't you
glad
say,
we.
Neo, really quick, really didn't you
Yeah.
say like we weren't going to go into conspiracy theories?
Yeah,
though?
no, I was just about
Yeah,
to
so
say.
go
Well,
ahead.
I mean,
You
if
get
we're
it.
going to be having a
the-
discussion on Great Replacement, we have already ceded territory to conspiracy theories.
Not exactly. No, and that's sort of the point. Is where I'm coming from is, at least for the sake of this conversation, it doesn't matter so much like if there's a force behind it, who's doing it, or if it's intentional at all. All we're trying to say is that it should be stopped, and if we stop it, it doesn't really matter who's behind it, does it? Because the effect, the negative effect that we're warding against, will not take place. So we don't really need to discuss who's behind it, what's happening, why, or whatever. We just need
If
to
you think a
discuss
thing
that
is
it
a
is a fact.
if you think a thing is happening as a direct action of some covert or clandestine group, wouldn't you have to address that so as to stop the action?
No, you can stop the action on a policy level. You can make enough people aware of the issue and its negative consequences that it can be stopped. And we don't need to talk about conspiracies. We need to talk about the fact of white demographic replacement in America, and the reasons why it's bad. And that's like the entire discussion here is we're talking about replacement. Either you need to assert that it is not happening, or you need to assert that it's a good thing that
Well,
it's
that's not
happening.
quite
So
how
which
this
is it?
works. You have the extraordinary claim that there is something happening, so you need to prove, one, why it's a bad thing, and two, just for the Groyper shitheads on here, define what the white race is.
Sure. Okay. So, well, Joe Biden said that it's happening. He said that whites will be a minority in America by 2040, and he said that's a good thing. I
Yeah,
disagree that
diversity is a
that's
good thing. That is what he said.
I agree that it's happening, and I don't agree that the demographic replacement in America, that the people who founded this country, the founding stock and their posterity, becoming a minority in their own country is a good thing.
The
You
people
think
who
that
founded this
replacement-
country wouldn't
discuss-
think that I am white.
What's that? I
The
didn't
people
hear
who
you.
founded this country would not think that I am white. So again, can you define what the white race is?
Yeah, sure. So loosely, for the sake of this discussion, I could probably just go with anyone who's not people of color, because that coalition broadly means anyone who doesn't have white privilege, anyone who's not considered white today. So if you want to ask, like, are Italians white? I would counter with, are Italians people of color? Which it's largely agreed that they're not.
No,
And
they're
on
not
Twitter-
people of color. They're people of carbonara. Is Obama white?
So no,
Obama is
first-
not
wait,
white. No,
Why?
Obama was the first black president, and
Why?
everyone
You're
said
not going to take that
for
away
years.
from him.
Why?
But
Why is he
You don't
black?
believe in the one white drop of blood hypothesis?
really,
Do you
really
think
quick,
that Obama has white privilege?
No, I'm asking you if you think that because he is half black and half white, why is he black?
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Just real quick, I mean, the average African American is between 20 and 30% white. So are they all white? Is everyone white if they have even 1% white DNA? That's ridiculous.
No,
It's
I'm
more like
asking
what
you.
it looks like, right?
Go ahead, Mythic. I'm sorry.
I think white and black are both social constructs. Basically, even the idea of Western Christendom and the idea of whiteness is an arbitrary distinction meant to promote propaganda for European-centric policies in the last couple centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick, for me, like, white is going to be more of a visual thing for what we're talking about, at least. If there's, well, on my end, if there's any kind of racial revenge of any sort, it's not going to be, okay, you're not going to look at one drop. They're not going to look at your 23andMe. They're not going to look at all your DNA stuff. I mean, it's really hard to find somebody who's going to have 100% DNA in a country as diverse and as ours. It's just not going to be realistic. So it's really just a visual thing for me. And you guys would be considered white in my eyes, very white. And so if there is some sort of racial revenge, and they are not caring about if you're the good white person or the bad white person, they were just looking to go after anybody who is white. What do you two do in that scenario?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last part of that question?
I'm asking you if there's some sort of racial revenge, if once white people become a minority, and you two are, you're fighting for diversity, you're fighting for all this stuff. But at that time, if people don't care, or know if you're a good white person or bad white person. They're just going after you because of your skin color. What do you do in that scenario?
Well, one, I am not so cowardly and, quivering in fear of the idea of people who are from different racial or ethnic backgrounds consensually fucking each other is going to lead to some kind of like revenge plot on white people. So, I mean, if you want to do your little Timmy meme now and get it out of the way, you can do that if you want.
Well,
I think
it's
that's
funny
basically what she was saying. You're suggesting as a hypothetical wherein you're saying, hey, this racial revenge thing is happening. How would you react? So like, I don't know, that's premise on the fact of that thing happening, but there's no example of that thing happening.
Well, that's the point of a hypothetical.
You've mentioned, yeah, but I don't know. What would you do in 50 years if you turned out this? You cannot linearly extrapolate white replacement from a couple of statistical graphs that go up and down, and this whole thing that you're arguing about is just exposing you as a white nationalist who think white people are essentially better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a funny way to deflect from Brittany's question, which is, what would you do if people are going after white people based on their skin color?
We already have anti-bullying policies in schools. This is not a real problem. This already happens. Bullying is
bad. She gave you a hypothetical that you're refusing to answer. Don't you guys love hypotheticals?
It is happening, though. It is actually happening. There are a lot of cases of this.
I did just answer it, actually. Bullying is bad. We already have anti-bullying policies in schools. We can argue whether or not they're effective, but these policies are already in place.
Okay, so just to hammer down on this, the point of Brittany's hypothetical was to point out that hypothetically, if people were going after white people based off of their skin color, would you walk up to them with open arms and say, oh no, I'm people of color too? Or would you say, I'm a white person and you shouldn't do this because it's wrong?
I don't know how to interface with that hypothetical because I've never really had racial animus towards anybody, and people generally think I'm cool and don't fuck with me.
But you're so I don't know how to do hypotheticals because it's not real. That is the point of a hypothetical, is if it's not real and if it wasn't real right now, but hypothetically, if it was, what would you do?
Your hypothetical.
It's a very, very simple question, dude.
We have already answered
but your hypothetical is meant to elicit in the context of a political conversation. The hypothetical is supposed to be some exaggerated version of an externality that could be real. So that all being said, I could say. So your question is what I would do if I was experiencing racial animus. I don't know. I would hope that there were some governmental structures that would make a racial prejudice illegal, which there already is. So are you saying, so not only are you suggesting that white people aren't a plurality anymore and that they're such a minority that they could be easily persecuted, they've also eviscerated the core liberalist stances of the Constitution wherein people are protected on essential traits?
Okay, yeah, no, good answer. Okay, so here's the problem with that. We look at Rhodesia, where whites put into place those exact same protections that nobody could be discriminated against based on race. They started diversifying. They made their government totally diverse, or well, rather not really diverse because it wasn't white people in government anymore. And then the new African government of Rhodesia, renamed as Zimbabwe, they removed those protections. They just changed the laws because they had political power. They could do whatever they wanted, and they had a racial animosity and grievances, historical grievances against those whites, which were arguably less extreme than they are here in America. Right? What happened in Rhodesia was colonization. Well, not even really, because the whites were there first, and they allowed the other groups in, like Mugabe's tribe and everything.
The whites were in Africa first?
They were in that. Yes, the Boer and the British colony, the British, what said colonizers, but it's not really. The British settlers, they were in that region first. There weren't African tribes there. The Zulu menace was moving across Africa and wiping out all the tribes. Rhodesia could stand up against them. And that's why there were so many thousands of blacks that were fighting for the Rhodesian military, is they were fighting against the Zulus. And so, yeah, they allowed these people into their country. They didn't even colonize them and everything. Whereas in America, what happened was
is there a point to this diatribe?
slavery. There was chattel slavery in America. So they have more of a reason to be upset with the whites in America
Okay.
than they had in Rhodesia, and they genocided them and drove them out of their own country there.
Rhodesia wasn't a real country. It was just literally white people hanging out. And
What?
and
Rhodesia
it
had
wa-
a nuclear program. Are you insane?
who was it recognized by? I mean, I
They
guess
were
it's-
recognized by everybody. They were recognized by the British government. They were recognized by more countries, I think, than Israel is recognized by today. They
So
were
just-
recognized that they were absolutely an official country. That's insane. Do you really think that there was just a group of people hanging out, that they had a functioning society, they had a nuclear program, they had borders, they had a full military, they had a government and all of this stuff? It was just a couple white people hanging out? That is without a doubt the stupidest argument I've ever heard on this topic.
Is there a point
I
to the
believe it might
diatribe?
be the stupidest argument that you've ever heard. However, so let's take it back to your hypothetical. So in your hypothetical, then we're talking about a United States that's been overthrown and replaced by some other governing document.
No, not at all. We're talking about that we live in a democracy, and therefore whoever has the most numbers can make the laws whatever they want to. They can amend the Constitution, they can revoke amendments to the Constitution, they can do whatever they like. And just like Rhodesia, where the whites put in protections so that nobody could be discriminated against based on race, the new plurality government, the new population which had political power and control, they just changed those laws. They removed that. So now there can be discrimination based on race now that they have the power. And that's exactly what they did. They drove them out of their own country violently, changed the name of it and everything. So yeah, the concern that could happen here if whites hand over political power to groups which have racial historical grievances against them, then yes, it's a legitimate concern that the same thing could happen here to a lesser or greater extent. And that's what we're here to discuss. This is not like some excuse for hateful bigotry.
No, it definitely
it's a very
is.
valid, legitimate concern.
It's completely invalid, and it definitely is bullshit. Let me ask you this, though. Do you want to be a minority in this country?
No.
Okay,
Do
why?
you? Things have never been good for any minority in any country ever, except in the few cases like Rhodesia, or like Rwanda.
Well, let's
when
talk about
the
America
Tutsis
for a second, since, those are fake countries, and I'm a red-blooded, God-fearing American patriot.
Rwanda is a fake country?
Yeah, I'm only really concerned
Black
about,
country. They don't think
America.
black countries exist, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that's
So
what's happening
what
here.
you're saying is basically that you
You
understand
think Rhodesia was a
implicitly
black
that...
country?
No, Rhodesia was a white country that
I'm
blacks
just asking
moved into.
Brittany.
Why does it matter who you're asking? Do you want an answer, or are you just trying to get a little own on a Twitch panel? Because Rhodesia was a white country, it was a colony of Great Britain that they allowed the African tribes to move in with them in order to give them protection against the Zulus, which were slaughtering them all.
Yeah, how benevolent.
yes, it was
Anyway,
a
could
white
you
country.
let's circle back to the question I was asking. So you don't want to be a minority in this country, the one that we're currently living in. I'm assuming everyone here is American, unless we have some filthy insiders. So it kind of belies your POV that you understand that minorities in this country don't have it all that well. So what's up with that?
Minorities in any country have never had it well, and that's my point. You ask any minority in America or any other country in the world if they would rather be a minority or majority, if they'd rather have the normative culture be their own, and they'd rather have people on the street look, talk, walk, and act like them, they would all say yes. Literally anyone would say yes. Any African American, any Hispanic American, any Indian American, or anyone in any other country, they would say yes. They would rather be a majority than a minority.
Well, maybe
because they
anyone
have
in those
more
countries
protection.
who frequents Groyper pages, but I'm sorry, the data just doesn't bear that out. Most people prefer multicultural societies because it makes them feel less like they're part of a racial group and more part of a human
The
species.
question was not about multicultural societies. The question was, would they rather be a minority or a majority in their multicultural society?
Yeah, most people don't care.
That's absolutely
like,
not true.
who are these
You ask
people?
any African American would rather be a
Who are
majority.
these people?
In
Well,
America.
people who,
Any
like I
Latin
said,
American
don't frequent Groyper pages and, try and do 1350 memes in their, splinter
I'm
discords from
talking
their
about people of
debate
color.
bro.
Those are not the people on the Groyper. Well, actually, there are plenty of them on Groyper.
Yeah, let's not try and
But,
pretend like you
I'm
guys aren't
talking about-
massive, inhuman pieces of shit.
The people of color that I'm talking about, that's kind of a
No, the
racist statement.
Groyper
Got a lot
Andes
of
in your little
anti-black
discourse.
stuff going on
Yeah,
tonight.
that's kind of racist, man, that you think that the people of color I was mentioning are pieces of shit.
Yeah, you got me. I'm a racist. Anyway, let's talk about your point of view since we're here talking about the Great Replacement.
Okay. So again,
What is it
African-Americans-
about the way statistics are trending that makes you think that this is some inevitable shift that's going to happen in America?
We have taken in over 60 million immigrants in the past 60 years. That represents a huge demographic change. Then we could talk about the birth rates as well. We could talk about intermixing and whatnot, but that's less relevant. And those are problems that we could talk about in different ways. What we're here
I'd like to talk about it.
for is reducing immigration, right? Reducing
I'm curious about the
immigration
intermixing.
right, and I don't care about that as much.
Well, no,
What
let's
I'm
address it
talking about
because
is
it's
the
actually really
immigration.
important. Because
Well,
the
it's less
recent
important.
census that you're all, pissing and shitting and farting all over yourselves about, where whites went down to 57.3%, I think the stat was. Actually, what skewed the numbers wasn't more immigrants. It wasn't, more black people. It was actually people consensually having sex with one another, reproducing, and identifying as mixed race instead of white.
You can say that, but we've also
I can. I have the study right here.
A larger number of immigrants than in American history. So that obviously is a contributing factor. And if this is an issue that
it is, but it's not what skewed the numbers to that degree.
We could solve that. We could solve that right there in a way, or at least alleviate it by reducing immigration.
I mean, if you don't like increased economic output, then you can try and cut off immigration. But I mean, it's simply a boon to our economy, our culture, our way of life. It's all good.
Wouldn't be an issue if our birth rates were, if we were meeting our replacement rates, would it?
If our birth rate is low, then we require immigration.
No, we require raising the birth rate. We require promoting families and children of our own people. It
doesn't make a difference if it's our own people. Those are people coming across the border.
The role of the government is to benefit the American people, not people from all the rest of the world. And if the people in America are not doing well economically, if they're not doing well socially, if they're not having families and children, then something's wrong that should be fixed. Right. So at the very least, we wouldn't need as much immigration if we would help the American people more and raise their birth rates. Right.
So you're using right now American interchangeably with white, because you're talking about specifically raising the American birth rate.
No. African Americans aren't meeting their replacement rate. Native American born Latin Americans aren't meeting their replacement rate.
So if you're worried strictly about birth rate, but irrespective of race, then what do you care who immigrates here?
Well, there's two parts to that answer. Okay, there's two answers to that. The first is people who are coming here from foreign nations were raised in a completely different culture.
It doesn't matter what culture they were raised in.
I'm talking here.
I don't care. It doesn't matter what culture. You're lying right now, because it doesn't matter what culture they're from, because third-generation immigrants assimilate perfectly into the society.
So do you want an answer to your question or not?
Well, I don't want you to lie, is the premise.
Just have a conversation with yourself here?
And then say what you're going to say.
Can you do it without, being incorrect?
Just let him finish, and then
I feel like
Brittany,
you haven't
shut the
said
fuck
a
up.
single thing without being incorrect this entire conversation, but I'm not going to be rude about it.
There is no discernible...
So he doesn't want the answer.
He doesn't like the answer. And
no,
so
it's because you are lying.
To stop the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's because you're lying. There is no...
What's the word for that? Filibuster. That's what's happening right now.
You want to talk about filibustering? Why don't you filibustering some bitches?
The truth can't get out.
I feel like if anybody's filibustering, it's you. I feel like, Mio, you're doing a little gish galloping, and it just may be that I'm not as fueled by racial animus than you. So the rates of American whiteness is not a thing that I'm used to debating about. But what is it about strictly? What does white culture mean to you? Because what I'm hearing doesn't really compute, because I don't see white in America as a monolith. It's never really been treated as such. It's not really borne out in statistically, historically, ethnically. There's no cohesive culture. I'm not sure what white America means to you, to be honest.
Okay, I will get to that. But first, I'd like to answer the other question, which I've been trying to answer for the past 5 minutes while dude has been talking.
You can go ahead, Mayo. Go for it.
So, yeah, the difference between foreign-born immigrants and people who are born here is that they're raised in different cultures. If you take Chinese people who were raised in China, they are less likely to get along with people who were raised in Japan than people who were born in Japan. that much is obvious, right?
Are you talking about in America, or if a Chinese person immigrates to Japan?
Japan, yeah. If there's a Japanese person, if there's even a Chinese person born to Chinese bloodline in Japan, they're more likely to get along with Japanese people than someone who was born and raised in China and moves to Japan when they're 30, right?
Yeah, the Japanese are hella racist.
Oh, so they're more, well, no, it's any culture, any group. You could take this at all, any group, any country in the world at all. You could say people in Tunisia and people in Ethiopia. Someone born a Tunisian born in Ethiopia who's born and raised there is more likely to get along with Ethiopians than someone who's born in Tunisia and moves to Ethiopia when they're 30. Is that because the Tunisians are racist against other blacks?
Yeah.
That's why that is. They're racist against other blacks. That's what you're going with?
Do you think that there aren't a wide variety of ethnic groups within Africa?
Yeah, no, and ethnicity is, again, a huge part of ethnicity is culture. One of the biggest parts of culture is language. So if people don't speak the same language, they're less likely to get along. Will you at least admit that?
Yeah, it's difficult to communicate when you're not speaking the same language, but thankfully we're living in 2022 and it's easy to, we have programs for this.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, that's great. And it should be alleviated.
Why? Because it benefits us.
Well, that alleviates the issue at least a little bit. So there's a good answer to that. So when people are coming to America and they're refusing to speak the language, when they're speaking Spanish in America instead of English, which I guess you could say is a big part of American culture, speaking English,
Do you have any polling on the refusal for people to speak English, or are you just kind of assuming that people who have difficulty learning a new language in a country that they're recently immigrated to is just a product of lack of access to programs that might actually teach them the language, or are you just speaking out of your ass?
Sure. No, I'll even go with that. Well, what I said is true,
and the
but
problems that you're talking about are they're for they're not even for assimilated people. They're not for their progeny. You're talking about interpersonal drama that's born of strictly the immigrants themselves and not their children.
It's not even the immigrants. It's people like Maya over here.
Again, I have less of an issue with people who are born here in America than people who immigrate to America. And a big part of that is the language. As you just said, it's more difficult for them to learn our language and assimilate and get along with people than even Hispanics who are born here, born and raised. And so that right there is a reason why reducing immigration would increase social cohesion, right? Because everyone would speak the same language. That would be a good thing, right? If everyone in the country speaks the same language.
No, I think we should be multilingual. They can all communicate
with each other.
I think we should be multilingual.
Do you want your neighbors to all be speaking Arabic and Spanish and Chinese?
Yeah, that'd be sick.
How you think your neighborhood would be better and all your neighbors would get along if nobody could communicate with each other?
No one's saying anything about not communicating. I think we should be multilingual.
That's what different languages are. Okay, so that's the issue is I don't believe that I should have to learn other languages just to get along in my own neighborhood.
Okay. I don't care.
Is that a reasonable thing that you've experienced? Or are you talking about a hypothetical wherein that would be an issue? Where are you living that you can't speak English?
That's happening a lot and all across the country. There are like entire neighborhoods and towns where the majority language is Spanish.
Yeah, it's almost like people who speak the same language congregate in the same area.
Yeah, it is almost like that. Exactly. And then that's what turns into tribes.
I was muted. I was muted the whole time.
Countries.
I have a question every single time. What about people who maybe they're physically unable to actually learn multilingual?
What, like they don't have a tongue or something?
No, maybe that they have a lower IQ, or maybe that they just like they literally can. It's not an easy thing to learn multilingual.
Why would you force that on people?
Like, why should they be forced to have to learn another language in their own country if they can't?
You want to take that one, Mythic? That one really, I almost blacked out. That was so stupid.
I don't know what that is. Are you talking about people who can't roll?
Are you talking? Are you talking? The country has like an IQ of lower than 80 points or something.
Yeah, it's 10% of the population has an IQ of less than 83, which the U.S. military actually did studies on this. They wouldn't accept anyone with an IQ of less than 83 because, and I quote, they could not be trained to do anything that is not positively counterproductive.
Okay.
So that
so
right there,
if
they
I'm going to
wouldn't
logically
learn a second language well, right?
Here's my concern with that. If I was going to take this and logically extrapolate from what you're saying, are you saying that there's some essential innate unintelligence of immigrants that would lead them to not learning the language and that would foment conflict? Then what are we raising this issue for about contraction?
No, they think that whites are too stupid to learn another language.
What are we raising the issue of cognitive incapacity to learn a language for, if not that?
Okay, so yeah, you misunderstood. We're not talking about the immigrants here. We're talking about native-born Americans, which have an IQ of less than 83, which makes them, it's really difficult for them to learn new things. And I think that being understanding of that is a kindness that you can do to people, that you can give to people or offer. And so with those people specifically, 10% of the population of native-born Americans, I don't think that you should force them to have to learn other languages just to be able to order food or communicate with their neighbors.
I'm not familiar with any situation where anyone's ever been forced. And again, you're talking about first generation people who came here and don't know the language, wherein if they were grew up in a diverse community, they would probably natively grow up learning those languages anyways.
Third generation completely assimilated.
You're talking about specifically immigrants and not their children again.
I don't understand where your hang up on this is. I'm talking about native-born Americans, not immigrants, native-born Americans who have a lower IQ, who are unable to learn a second language because they're not smart enough. There's a lot of people like that. Look, there's people who are valuable to society.
I have a feeling there's one in chat right now.
Minimum wage jobs. And it's like those are people too, okay, and they need to also have a good quality of life. And I think that like you dismissing them is really like kind of cruel.
Can you show me one example of someone being forced to learn a language in America?
Well, no, it's what you just advocated for your policy. You said we should be multilingual. Yeah, you should have to learn 4 different languages.
I don't remember saying that we should be
multilingual. Say that
once.
Ginger over here did.
I said, we should be. I didn't say anything about like a direct, yes, you have to know at least 3 languages, otherwise gulag.
If that's what we're having to do when we're still the majority and this is being pushed on us,
you don't
what's
have
gonna happen
to.
is we become, we're 60%, then we become 50%, then we become 40%.
You're literally making up things to be upset about.
This is completely made up. This belies the brain rot of people who believe in this great replacement nonsense.
You're not being forced to learn a language. Half the people I talk to aren't even forced to learn English correctly.
If you're trying to communicate with people, you are being forced to learn another language.
Right.
Holy fuck.
If there
a policy that requires you
speak our language, go ahead.
Is there a policy? Is there something set in stone that you can point to that forces someone to speak Spanish or any other language?
I would say yes. A policy which brings in people who speak other languages.
No. That forces native English speakers to speak another language. Forces them to speak it.
Take a language class. You have to take a language class.
I didn't.
Accurate?
I didn't.
You didn't have to.
I did not.
You
only have to take a language class. Okay, so speaking just for my state, the only reason you have to take a language class is to qualify for TOPS. You do not have to take a language class if you are not trying to qualify for TOPS, for government assistance.
But I know that in my school we had to
TOPS
take
is like grants for college.
What she's talking about is basically a universal experience that most people have to take a language class. But regardless, the point is that if people are coming here who do not speak our language, if you want to be able to communicate with them, you have to therefore speak their language, which you said is a good thing, that people in America would have to learn foreign languages in order to be able to communicate with their neighbors. I'm saying, Brittany's saying, that some people are unable to do that, and it is cruel to them to move in people who speak another language so that they won't be able to have a neighborhood.
Do you have any studies on the IQ threshold for learning a second language?
No, not on that specifically.
So you're just basing this off of your fifis?
Well, no, but I do know that 10% of the population has an IQ of less than 83, which makes them unable to learn any complicated task, including learning a second language. So there's 10% of the population of America.
Are you aware that IQ is a long debunked metric for measuring intelligence?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
IQ is actually the most proven social science
claim.
No,
it is not.
By a factor of about 3. And
motherfucker, I am literally a sociologist. This is not true. This is completely false.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. There are three times more studies proving IQ as the best measure of general cognitive intelligence than there are of any other social science claim. This has been one of the most studied things that
I
there is.
don't know if
The
you want to be
military
bringing
uses
social
it.
science claims to someone who literally has a degree in sociology.
Well, then why are you lying, dude? I mean,
I
the
am not.
military uses IQ as a measure in order to bring
It is
people up into
a
command.
metric that is used, but it is not solid science. It is completely
What do
debunked.
you mean it's not solid science? It was proven by
Here
the
is why.
scientific
Because
method
I can
itself.
score different on an IQ test if I miss lunch.
I mean, sure. I'm sure that you could. However, IQ tests, first of all, real ones take like hours and hours. It's a very, very serious test. And I get if you're having an off day, the number could be lower or whatever. But the point is that some people do not have as much cognitive intelligence as others. They don't have as much general cognitive ability as others. You agree with that, right?
Do I believe that people have like different levels of cognitive ability?
Yes. Yeah, that's the question. That's
Yeah,
where we're
This
at.
is a
witnessing it
thing
right
that
now.
is raising all my fucking alarms because you're talking about immigration and now you're talking about intelligence as an essential trait. You're saying this to say what?
I'm saying this because some people in America are unable to learn a second language because they don't have the ability to do that. And
Which
therefore,
again, they're
moving
not
in,
being forced to. So you're
move it-
making
well,
up a thing to be
here's-
upset
well,
about.
they would be forced to if people moved into their neighborhood that don't speak their language. If you want to communicate with your neighbors, then you have to speak
There's
the
not
same language.
one. There's not
It
one
doesn't have to be
neighborhood.
government
There's
forced
not
for it
one
to be
neighborhood
forced,
in
though.
America where there's one single language that's spoken.
It doesn't have to be government force for
There
it to be
should
forced.
be.
If you're trying to communicate with
There-
people, that alone
There
is going
used
to
to
be.
be. There
There
was
used to be.
before 60 years ago.
Right.
And there should be still today. I think that it's better if people all speak the same language. You
So you're-
already agreed to that.
So you're for no, I didn't agree that it's better when everyone speaks the same language.
You think that it's
I
better if
did
people
not
don't
agree that.
communicate with each other?
Please do not make up stuff that I agreed to. Number one.
You think it's better
So,
if people
so
can't
I say,
communicate with
hey,
each other?
hey. So you say, so extrapolating from what you just said, so you think it's better if people are racially segregated?
When did I say that at all? We're talking about language.
Ethnically separated. Ethnically is largely understood to be
Probably a
language
minority.
is a key constituency of
Yeah,
ethnic.
yes.
So you would prefer people who were ethnically segregated?
I think that countries work better when they are drawing along ethnic lines instead of smashing ethnic groups together. Isn't this the argument against the colonization of Africa? Is that they drew borders without any idea of like the different ethnic groups that live there and forced them to live together, causing conflict because they had different cultures, different stories, different beliefs,
No.
a different language, a different religion, all of those things. You don't think it's better if people have all those things in common?
That is not what colonization was.
Yeah, really? You don't think that the colonizers drew borders without any consideration for
Sorry, let me clarify.
groups who live there?
Immigration is not colonization.
Well, no, but the point is the connection is that different ethnic groups who have all those things opposed to each other. They don't have those things in
it's a
common. They don't
connection.
get along as well.
Yeah, it's a
And
connection
again,
in the way that
I mean-
Antarctica and like South America are connected.
Okay, and so the point is that stopping people who don't speak our language from coming here en masse, like they have been for the past 60 years, would be good because we would have more social cohesion just by virtue of the fact that we would all speak the same language.
Is language like a big hurdle for you? Like you go
Language
to
is like
Home
a-
Depot
yes,
and you
it
see
is
like
for
a sign
everybody.
that says like
That's how
tools
we're
and then
able
it
to
says
have
something in
this
Spanish and you're like, oh, I can't fucking believe it. I have to read Spanish at Home Depot. What the fuck?
What if I can't speak Spanish? Then what do I do?
You read the sign that says it in English right next to it.
What if
Okay,
there's like
and-
jobs that are like actually hiring people like more so if they speak a second language? If they
Yeah,
speak
that's a
Spanish?
good qualification since we live in a
Why should we have to, though?
multi-language
Why
society.
should we have to
It's
in our own
good
country? Why should we have to in our own country though?
because we're a multilingual society.
We shouldn't.
because-
That's the point.
We've always been a country of immigrants. There's always been diversity here of ethnics
haven't.
and language. It literally always
Motherfucker.
has been.
We came as
literally
immigrants.
You mean
We have
America
not-
or
No,
the
we
initial
didn't. We came as
colonies?
pioneers, explorers, and colonizers. We came to a land where all they had was teepees and their skinning each other alive and stuff. And
Oh,
we
so it's
built
like a
country,
third
we
grade
built
education that
Western
we're talking to. Okay,
we
cool.
built Western civilization.
Is
here.
this the
We didn't
thing that I've
immigrate
heard
to
where you
the
say
First
racist things
Nations
to
or whatever.
deflect from a point, where about them skinning each other and stuff like this? Is this the famous Mio pivot where you just say some racist thing on its face
No, I'm
to avoid the point?
pushing back on the idea that that the first pioneers and colonizers and settlers in America were immigrants, like there was already a country here or something.
Okay, where
So
did they
the
come
distinction
from?
there
Built
being,
this country.
who's we? So are you like a Protestant, like pilgrim? I don't understand. Like you,
Yes, literally yes. I am a Protestant Anglo-American descended from the founding stock. On one side, my family arrived here on the Mayflower, and on the other side, they arrived here 15 years before the Mayflower. So
When you ask white people
this
where
is
they're
my
from and they start
country.
breaking out percentages.
So in order for your argument to work, we have to jump over the several hundred years where this was a limited government wherein immigration was legal.
There was, and that's sort of the point, is that historically, when America brought in immigrants, first of all, they only brought in immigrants from other European nations, which have at least some things in common.
Who
with
they didn't
them.
believe were white.
And then
What if I told you they
brought
also
in-
shipped
hold
in
on.
people from other continents?
Hold on, and then they brought in immigrants. They brought in like quotas of immigrants, and then stopped and capped it and stopped immigration. They had about 15 years of immigration, and then like 15, 30 years off with no immigration. And the importance of that was that they gave these people time to assimilate. They didn't want these other people. They didn't want German Americans to become the majority here, so that we all have to speak German. They wanted the German immigrants to come here and learn English and assimilate into the culture. And that's really the heart of this, is that that's not happening anymore. Now we have the highest rates of immigration ever in American history.
They're
and
actually the amount of green cards that are being issued to migrants are
Gremloe.
actually lower
Hi.
right now.
Gremloe, I have
Yeah?
a question for you. Like, what good is this diversity bringing to the table? By the way, and if you say music and food, I will snap. So,
Oh no,
Music and food.
big veiny black cock.
Black cock
I'm
is a
sorry, what did-
plus.
Yeah.
Did he
Yeah,
say
see,
black
all
cock?
they have is meme answers, because there is no real benefit to all this diversity, which is
There's no
supposedly our
benefit to
strength.
white hegemony. There's no benefit
Yes,
to a
there is,
homogenous white
absolutely.
group.
Yes,
Only to
there is,
male
absolutely.
dorks
The top
like
10
you.
happiest countries
Only
in
to
the world are
motherfuckers who pull
mostly
up their fucking dogger
homogenous
pants up to
countries.
their fucking belly button,
Can I tell you
have
something?
mayonnaise for
Mythic,
fucking
Mythic,
3
hi,
meals
hi,
a day.
Mythic,
Why is a
Mythic,
hyper fucking
hi.
European fucking
Mythic, let me
enclave
tell you, let me
desirable to
tell you.
anybody?
Let me tell you,
What
Mythic,
premise are you using
Let her
to
answer.
qualify that?
Okay, yeah, so basically, the top 10 happiest countries are pretty much like majority homogenous. And for somebody who is a communist, socialist, whatever, you would have a much better chance of getting the policies you want achieved if that was the case. A lot of the reasons we are not getting some of these things is because of this diversity, because we are having so much infighting. We can't address a lot of the economic issues that we have. A lot of people are willing to sacrifice some of the economic gains that you could have by immigration in the short term to achieve this. They don't want to become a minority in their country, basically.
No,
Would you call
diversity's
those
not
countries-
preventing that. It's little shitheads like you two that are preventing all of that.
No, it's not. It's
Those-
Black Lives Matter. It's this.
Trump
It's this
won
like
on this. Trump won
colonizers
on this.
return the land to the natives. All this nonsense. They don't have that in Switzerland and Iceland and Norway. You know, they don't have
I'm
to
actually
talk about
really glad
racialist
you brought up
countries
the
all
Nordic
day long.
countries. Are you familiar with the app that exists in Iceland that makes sure that people in that homogenous society aren't
Yes,
fucking
I'm
each
very
other's sisters?
familiar with that. They
I
are
bet.
they are distantly related to each other because there's only about 300,000 people in Iceland. However, it is still one of the happiest countries in the world. People's
Because of
quality of life
socialism.
Yeah.
is better on average than ours. Right. And you could achieve what you want, your economic goals, if we didn't have such high racial tensions in this country.
The
which was
racial
exactly
tensions
my
are
point
only
in bringing
coming
them
up from the people like you.
No,
the
people
racial
like
tensions
me
are
were
literally as a
created
result of
by Black
top-down
Lives
policies by white supremacists like you. No, hey, what if I told you that there's always been white supremacists, white identitarians, and white nationalists, and if they did not magically get created in Ferguson? Did you know that? It's amazing.
Oh wow, I'm
What do you guys think
astounded.
a
I'm
white
telling you.
supremacist is?
Yeah, I know, right? It's always these racially charged terms. But the point is that
Someone who
the
thinks that it's better to have
point
a
is that
homogeneous
if
white society instead of having a
here's
You
multiculturalism.
just said like you want a broadly white country
Yeah.
with ethnic
So what
segregation.
about,
Here's
like,
the
is
What
bottom
is
line.
How is that
Israel
differentiated
like
from a
white
white supremacist,
supremacist?
white identitarian fucking rhetoric? Like, what do you
Is
mean?
Israel
What
Jewish supremacist?
Yes.
is? Yeah, I would say
Okay.
so.
That's
Yes.
anti-Semitic. You're
No,
anti-Semitic.
it's anti-Zionist.
No, it's anti-Semitic. If you look up the state.gov definition of anti-Semitism, calling Israel an ethno-state is in the government's definition of anti-Semitism, by
I
the
don't
way.
really care what the government has to
Goddamn,
say
do we
about this, considering
disagree?
that majority of Jews don't even agree with that.
Well, I'm just saying the majority of Jews whose opinion matters do, because they have power in
because,
government,
you know.
and they've made that the rule. You can be kicked out of school for anti-Semitism.
Oh, I know, yeah.
which
In
that is
33
the
states, you're
definition of-
required by law to sign a waiver saying that you won't participate in BDS. Really crazy how, like,
I don't
free
agree
speech
with them. I
conservatives
don't
are
agree
so
with
against
Israeli
free
policies.
speech whenever you can't protest the state of Israel, a foreign state, in this country. And guess what? It's not people like me that put forward that legislation. It's motherfucking Zionists like you who want the
What?
Jews to have an
Zionists?
ethno-state, so they're not
You're
here.
Zionist. Wait, can I ask a question really quick? So, say that this whole thing did happen in America, where Mio the Zionist, that's your new name, change it, where white people became a minority and there was some kind of racial revenge. And where would white people be able to go if that was to happen, if they became refugees?
I don't
Where can
know.
they
It's
go?
like asking if, like, Iron Man
No.
came down from the sky and blew up my house. I don't know. This is just a completely
Literally,
fallacious argument.
If
not.
they
And
made
it's
magically, white
hypothetical,
people
so
were
they
not
don't, like,
allowed to
can't-
vote. Imagine in America where there's only 1% white people and they've chopped off their hands so they physically can't even vote with their little nubby hands. And also they taught them to fight wrong as a joke. What would they do then? And they explicitly taught them the wrong roast jokes so they look stupid when they try to make fun of other people. Like, what is this hypothetical? I don't know. There's literally laws. Every country has laws against bullying and violence.
Why do we want to
Every
this
nation has
possibility?
laws against like bullying and racism. There's policies to
And do you
protect
think
that
that works?
action.
Deja had that too.
Like, that doesn't always
I don't
work. I mean,
recognize the
and do you
country
know
of
how hard it is
Rhodesia.
to
Didn't
prove
stop
any
them.
kind of hate crimes?
I don't
too? Like,
recognize
that's-
the country of Rhodesia. How about
Okay,
that?
Zimbabwe before it was Zimbabwe had that too.
Excellent. They got
How
rid of those
about that?
colonizers. They fucking chased them the fuck out.
Yeah, well, see, and he's applauding it. It's
Yes.
a good thing.
It was
Here's the
based.
bottom line: there wouldn't be racial tensions if there was only one race in town. It's that simple. And in these countries like Iceland, Switzerland, Norway, they're able to achieve the economic goals that you guys purportedly stand for because they don't have those racial tensions. But you're arguing
They
here
definitely
for
have racial tensions.
exacerbating that issue rather than your economic goals, which really shows, it illustrates which is more important to you: diversity or social.
Yeah,
Would you guys
you're
trade?
right.
Wait, I have
I'm
a
not
question, I have a
for-
question.
Okay.
Hi. Would you guys trade free healthcare for everybody if we close the
No.
borders? Is that you
No.
would? So you would not. You wouldn't take getting free
What does
healthcare
closing the
if we
borders
close the
mean?
borders. Close the
What do you
borders. Like, I'm not saying to kick out the people that are here. I'm saying close the borders. Don't let anybody else in. You guys get free healthcare. You wouldn't
And you
trade that.
wouldn't trade that.
Don't lie to me.
No.
Don't lie to
Shows
me. Mythic.
it shows your priorities here.
First
You're
of
gonna
all,
be
I think
alienating a lot of
effectively-
your audience here on the
I
left.
think
It's like,
effectively-
no, I want free healthcare. I don't care if people from the third world come here. If every American
that
gets
aren't
free
owed to
healthcare,
be
that would
here.
be amazing. You would drastically increase the quality of life of every person watching.
I don't think the borders are anywhere near as open as you would pretend they are. I think the immigration policy to America is getting tougher and tougher. And when you talk about refugees, those aren't strictly immigrants per se. Those are people. So now, Mr. Definition guy, technically you're being fucking anti-Semitic because of this one thing I fucking read one place. So now, but you're broadly conflating refugees and immigration. Is that your argument?
No. I think you are actually. These people you call refugees, most of them are just economic migrants, honestly, and they get refugee status because their lives are so bad in their their countries.
So they do
which,
have refugee
you know,
status, though.
I feel for them. Well, sure, because technically,
Okay.
but
I'd also
whatever,
like to
man.
point out is it's kind of cute how like the caveat to having healthcare is that you close off the borders to immigration, almost like
Elizabeth
a
Warren's
nationalist
entire
plan.
socialist
Wait, no, Elizabeth
program.
Warren would
Kind
not
of weird.
have her healthcare plan. Elizabeth Warren couldn't have her healthcare plan unless they got immigration under control. There's not a single country in the entire world that gives free healthcare. Bernie's plan is not implemented in any country across the world because it's not realistic.
Yeah, because they're
and we have
cowards. They're
way
afraid to. They're all afraid to do it like it should be done.
in any of these other countries.
I think you do
have
get free
have
care
to
in
go to
Canada.
control.
If you like break your arm in Canada, they treat you.
Yeah, but that's short-term
They
care.
don't
We're
have
talking
the
about long-term
immigration
care.
levels
No.
we have. That's
Yeah,
the
no,
point.
hold on, yeah, like short-term care, if you have an emergency, sure, that's one thing. But if you're talking about the expensive stuff like cancer treatment, things like that, you're not going to get free treatment in any of these other countries. None of them provide it to people that are not citizens of their country. And
I
Bernie's
agree.
offering that.
I agree that the neoliberalism, capitalism in America is causing spiraling costs of healthcare, and that we do need to tamp that down and do collective single payer.
Borders? How can we afford it if we don't have borders? There's a reason why these countries don't do that, and they're not paying the kind of money that we pay for military too. Think about that.
Just to circle back, I want to make sure that I'm steel manning your argument from earlier. That when I asked like if you could define white, you guys said it's kind of just like a shade thing.
For me, it is.
Well, I would say anyone who's not people of color, because that's what people of color is everyone except white people.
Okay, so like white Cubans that come over.
Are they people of color?
It's up to you.
I don't really give
That's
a shit.
different. That's
No.
It's
That's
an
not up to me.
opinion.
I'm not the one who's making policies based on people of color and whatnot, or advocating for it at
You
all.
were literally
You
talking.
tell me what's people of color and what's not. You tell me.
We're literally doing the opposite. Wherein we're saying that it doesn't matter what people's ethnicity is or whatever. Whereas you're trying to limit immigration from non-white people,
Okay, so
or is that not your argument?
So you have no problem with eliminating all policy proposals which would benefit people of color specifically? You have no problem with that?
No, I think that people
So it does matter. So it does matter. People of color does matter. Huh.
Well, I mean, like you said earlier, I mean,
to rectify the long-term effects of redlining and underserved areas in the city, which have been that's a different thing. That's a different thing than arbitrarily. That's a different thing than arbitrarily casting someone as a person of color not based on skin tone, which would affect their ability to immigrate here. Those are two very different things.
So again, Castizos, are they people of color or not?
I don't
know
know
what a fucking castizo is.
It's people who are mostly Mexican and all, or no, mostly white and like 25% Mexican, something like that. Those are the white Cubans and whatnot that you're talking about. That's the word for that.
What you're effectively doing is making me classify who is white or not when that's not the metric through which I see the world. That's not the filter through which I see the world, because you're the one who wants it.
It's the filter.
I'm asking you to define your policies.
No,
I don't go for racial. I don't. Melanin is not the metric by which I discern who should immigrate here or not. I'm asking you to define what a white American is, why it's better that America be white American, and how would you police that? And you're deflecting left and right and having me say, well, who do you think a POC is? I don't know. You tell me, bud. You're the one who wants ethnic enclaves. I don't care about that.
So again, POC means not white people, right? Are white people people of color? Are they?
Well, Italians are people of carbonara, so I think they qualify.
Aha, yeah, clever. So again, they refuse to answer the question on, like, even are white people people of color, because they know where this conversation goes once they admit that's the case, that white people, people of color is everyone that's not white, and they're trying to like pin down, like get into the weeds on, oh, well, are Slavs white or are Italians white? My question is, are they people of color?
I don't know what the fuck white people are. I have no idea.
Benefiting people of color at their expense.
Really quickly though, like it does. Okay, even if say the whole people of color, white people, whatever, the propaganda that is like being pushed in like every institution you can have is so extreme that even white people are becoming anti-white. We're arguing with 2 white people against this right now. I mean, you guys are kind of living proof that
He's
this is
Irish
like
and
this
I'm
propaganda
Italian.
is
If
so
you go
huge.
if you go into a time machine 2 decades ago, I'm not white. And if you go into a time machine
We're right here, right now. Are you people
Yeah.
of color or not?
It has the definition has changed. Number
Because it's
one,
based on
and that is
purity.
not the metric by which I'm deciding who should be here and how they should suck and self-associate and self-congregate in America. You guys are arguing that your
Here's
premise
why.
is that
Right back,
white. You're saying that white people should get their birth rates up, and you're failing to define what that is. What the fuck does it mean
I
to
said
be white?
native-born Americans should get their birth rates up. And again, so to illustrate why this is important, we'll get to the heart of this. The People of Color Coalition is a political force which cannot be ignored in America. They're advocating for policies which strictly benefit people of color and not white people, and that would inherently disaffect everyone who's not people of color. So, which by definition means white people, and so therefore, bringing in more people of color who would advocate for stuff like that would be bad for everyone who's not people of color. It's really that simple.
So if
Can
I
you
were to
circle back, what is
go
the
ahead.
first part that you said? Did you talk about specifically policy? What policy that did you feel specifically targets what you call people of color?
I mean, they're advocating for all sorts of it. The whole reparations conversation is like based on that specifically. But even more than that, we've got, I mean, one example, I haven't talked about this in a long time. I know there are more recent examples, but one example from last year is there's like COVID relief plans which have reparations built into them. It's like
Based.
people, like white people, need not apply. White people need not apply for COVID relief plans. They shut down all the industries so that all the farms, everybody is screwed up. They're losing their farms. They're losing their livelihood. And so the government has programs to help those farmers, but not white farmers. Because we can bake in
Is that strictly
reparations
true
into
though?
this
I
whole
know
thing.
that they specifically had outlined subsidies for black farmers. So that's because black farmers traditionally were excluded from previous subsidies.
Again, there it is. It's like we're not doing things just everybody's equal and all the same.
Did you hear what he
people
just
of color
said?
get certain benefits, and people who are white don't get those benefits.
But
Mythic, can you
I don't
repeat
think
what you
that's
just said?
true.
'Cause I don't
I
think
think
he
that
heard
there
you.
was extra. I think that there was extra subsidies for black farmers to rectify the fact that they had been excluded out of previous waves of subsidies for farmers generally.
Again, so how does that affect a white farmer who immigrated here 5 years ago, who is like, let's say there's a German guy who comes to America, let's say an English guy comes to America, buys a farm, he's working on it, he's working his ass off, and then COVID hits, the government shuts everything down, shuts down his farm, he's losing money, he's not doing as well, and then the COVID relief programs are for people of color only. How do you
It's
think that guy
fascinating
feels?
how he like
He didn't do anything. He didn't do slavery. He didn't participate in any kind of racism.
Why is it that I feel like
him?
why is it that I feel like when I go and look at the specific policy you're talking about, it's not going to say for white people only? Why do I feel like it's good to say that?
They did something like privilege, but it came out that like basically everyone who's privileged is white people. So yeah, you can look it up if you want. There's a disabled farmer suing the Biden administration.
The Family
over
Guy
this
meme where he's
policy.
holding up the chart.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
oh,
serious.
so that's okay. So it's a Facebook meme that you got your information
I'm
from.
fucking
Got it.
kidding. Like, settle
Okay.
down, Joe.
Because that's what it sounds like to me. Because
No, but actually,
Mythic
it's
here
not-
is
it's
saying
not-
that this was a catch-up program to, fill in the gap where funds weren't going, and then you, Mayo, made up something.
Mayo, you're literally like doing the anti-white stuff right
Is it
here
not
before
Mayo?
our eyes. You
Have
know it's
you-
not Mayo.
Not heard the people
it's
getting
Neo.
kicked off Twitch for racist slurs. You can say whatever you want. Like again, there's no magic
I mean,
words
listen,
that
I'll
triggers
break
white
out
people.
the word real
Unlike
quick.
everyone else, white people don't get offended by words. But I'm just letting you know that
Yeah, definitely not mad.
You're participating in anti-white racism
It's
to
gonna
the
backfire.
extent that it's gotten people banned off of Twitch. So careful with that, big guy.
Well, look, I'll
Are
break
you
out
a
the
third?
word
Are
whenever
you a
I'm
third
ready.
positionist?
No,
You're not a third positionist.
no. I know people who are, and
Sure.
it's like I'm familiar with the arguments and all of that, but it's like that's not me.
Why?
Why am I not a third
No,
position?
I'm not asking you. I'm asking why he asked.
Oh.
Because I think that what my concern is, your points dovetail with like almost 1-to-1 with people who believe they have a white supremacist, white identitarian view of the world.
Not a third
And I
position.
think that
You
you're
understand
being
that the third positionists are like multiracial. They don't care
Yeah.
about white identity at all. Like, I
That's
know
the
you're not
thing.
really familiar with these circles or their arguments, but they believe in like
They're-
multiracial fascism. They don't
they're-
care about white
they're
identity.
they're anti-Semitic though, right?
Just
James,
some
thank you
of
for
them
the
maybe,
raid, bud. Love
maybe
you.
as anti-Semitic
Mwah.
as you.
Not because I don't approve broadly of Israel's apartheid.
I mean, I'm not going to make a comment, an anti-Semitic comment like you just did right there.
Not
But,
anti-Semitic
yeah,
to call something that was
that's how a
recently
lot of
labeled
them
an
feel.
apartheid state by
They don't
the
approve
Amnesty
of
International.
Israel. They don't approve of that. They don't approve of like foreign nationals. They don't approve of like dual citizenship or foreign nationals or lobbying groups specifically, like special interest groups that are like for the benefit of foreign nations. They don't like that stuff, and that's considered anti-Semitic, of course, because the nation of Israel has a huge amount of lobbying power in America, which is like a big part of why we've been at war for our entire lives. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
So anyway, to get back to the point of the discussion, the well, I mean, we've gone so many places, I don't even know where to start. It's again, you look at the historical precedent. Here's where we'll go with this. You could talk about third positionism. You could talk about fascism. And if I had said that I'm fascist, like hypothetically, if I said I was fascist, which I'm not, then the next words out of your mouth would have been something about the Holocaust or Nazis or something like that. You'll say there's historical precedent why this form of government is dangerous, it's anti-Semitic, it's racist, blah, blah, blah. But if I talk about historical precedent for whites handing over political power to non-whites with racial grievances against them, which you're even justifying now with the COVID relief plan stuff, you would say that's nonsense. You can't talk about arguments from history because that's not here. Well, guess what? Nazi Germany isn't here either. That was 100 years ago on another continent in another place with different people groups and everything. So it's one or the other.
What I was gonna do, I wasn't overtly going to call you a Nazi, but I was going to point out the similarities between their platforms and yours. And I think that it's not exactly the birth rates and it's not exactly the other stuff. I think at the core of what you're doing, you have white replacement anxiety. You have the anxiety. You fear racial retribution. You fear not being a majority party in America, and you think it's predicated on the idea that people are going to act a certain type of way to you in a revenge, malicious capacity.
Like they did in the past, yes.
Not in America though, and in America the context has been the other way, and there's laws enacted to protect that. So to take your account seriously, so I don't know about that. I'm talking about America. So specifically, there are laws in America to prevent that type of action anyways. So I don't think so. Not only, but okay, let's say broadly what program specifically at the border do you think need to be changed to change the immigration in a way that you think is good, and why?
Okay, yeah. At the very least, we should be stopping all of the low.
Mr. Brain Dead, thank you for gifting a sub.
The low-skilled labor immigrants from coming into America.
Which will be replaced.
That would be a good start, right? That would
it is-
reduce immigration by a lot. That would reduce the demographic change in America, and at the very least, slow it down so we don't have this radical, drastic change in less than 100 years, where a previous like 90% majority group now becomes less than 50% of the population to other groups which have racial animosity and grievances against them. I think that happening at least this fast, especially, you could agree would be a problem. So reducing that, alleviating that issue by reducing immigration, that would be a net positive for the historic American people.
Well, to do that, I would have to agree that immigration is an issue, but I would like to kind of just point out that Camus, who kind of got this great replacement thing rolling in the last 20 years, whenever his work was put out, the reemergence of it was likened to the Nazi ideology of Unvölken. So if we're saying, we're not going to call you a Nazi, I don't have to. Your ideology is that of a Nazi.
You mean
Can I
like
ask a question really
African
quick? Hold on.
Americans consider themselves
I have
an
a question.
ethnic in-group and talk about
If-
black identity? That's the same thing as the vote.
If there was no, like, say there
What?
was never any kind of genocide that happened in Nazi Germany and the Holocaust or whatever, would it be? Do you think it would hold the same weight as it does today?
Sorry, I could barely hear you. Could you
Wait.
just repeat the last part, please?
Do you think it would hold the same weight as it does today if there was no genocide that happened whatsoever?
Nazi ideology?
Would you have such a problem with it?
Do I
If there
think
was
that
no
Nazi
Holocaust, if
ideology
it
would hold the
hadn't happened,
same weight that it
hypothetically.
did in, like, the Weimar Republic?
No, like today in American discourse.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, comparatively, today, would Nazi ideology have the same kind of damage as it did in the Weimar Republic? Is that what you're asking me?
I'm just asking you a simple question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I understand it.
Well, the question's not. I mean, it's kind of simple. If there was no genocide,
Mm-hmm.
no genocide ever happened, would it hold the same weight? Do you think people would view the Holocaust and all this stuff that happened? Do you think they would view it the same?
Do you think that the
I'm not
Holocaust,
asking
like
you
the
to ask me
gas
a
chambers?
question with a question. I'm asking you to answer my question.
Shut the fuck up. Do you think that the Holocaust and the gas chambers is like when Nazism starts?
I'm asking you, would it hold the same weight? It's a yes or no question.
If it didn't end with the Holocaust and gas chambers, would you have such a problem with it? Is her question.
Yeah, but
You would
also
still
I
have the
think
same
that the
problem with it if
resurgence
there
of,
was no
excuse me, you asked me a question. I think that
Sure.
the resurgence of a far-right fascist Nazi ideology in America is
Where nobody
potentially
died.
much more damaging than
Where
what was
nobody
done in the
died.
Holocaust.
Where
Why?
nobody died.
What's wrong with the form
There's
of
people
government?
dying
if it
from
didn't end the
racial
genocide?
animus right now.
I feel
That's
like
also
you're
true.
lying.
If Nazi Germany hypothetically had not ended in genocide of any sort, you would have just as much of a problem with that form of government, National Socialism. For
Yeah.
what reason?
Yeah. Oh, because I don't like nationalism. I think it rots your brain.
You think it's as bad as the Holocaust?
Do I think that someone being a nationalist is as bad as the Holocaust? No, I think that the utilitarian look at the Holocaust and someone being like, a nationalist is not comparatively as harmful, but it does lead to those kinds of harm.
I would broadly
Unless it
say,
didn't.
if I was going to be charitable here, I would say that broadly, yes, the anti-Semitism and the dehumanization and the racial genocide is the issue with the National Socialism. I think that type of right-wing authoritarianism is never going to go well, anyways. Particularly, especially when they've just basically caved and become basically neoliberal and not really. There's not the socialist component of it. I don't think it's going to go very well.
Well, I have a problem with your anti-Semitism, big guy, and I think that could end in a Holocaust. So you better watch that.
Okay, so are you saying that to me or not? Because are you? I feel like you're playing approach avoidance with being a Nazi. Do you really have an issue with the? Are you now pulling cover for the anti-Semitic tenets of Nazism, or are you just memeing that I don't like Israel?
No, I'm talking about the state definition of anti-Semitism, which you fit, and how that's problematic because there's a little thing called the Holocaust, which anti-Semitism ends with, that maybe you need to learn about. I don't know if you haven't heard about it.
To say this? Why? But I understand what you're doing. But why are you doing it if you're not trying to cover up the fact that you hold earnest anti-Semitic beliefs?
Well,
I don't
it's
understand
just
what the point of this is.
contradictory to me that you say you have such a problem with anti-Semitic beliefs when you hold them yourself.
Yeah, but I think broadly people would not agree with that designation. I think the majority of people would not agree that you can't criticize the fucking white apartheid state of Israel without. Okay.
Well, there it is. That saying that it's an apartheid state is anti-Semitic, but saying that Jews aren't white is not.
The state of Israel would not allow white people to move in and become the majority government because they would say Jews aren't white; they're their own specific ethnic in-group, right?
I don't know. Jacob Fauci, who lived in Yonkers and took over a Palestinian home, might disagree with you.
I mean, okay, so you cite one specific person who lives in
Israel. No, I incite a
who's
pattern of behavior.
One person who's a white guy who lives in Israel, they call it the Jewish state for a reason, not a white state, right? There's a reason that they make that distinction.
Yeah, I mean, Jewish. There's like
so there is a
Ashkenazi.
distinction
There's
to be made between
Literally,
Jews and white.
connect the stop for me. What does this have to do with the replacement rate of naturalized people in America? I'm not connecting the dot here.
To be honest,
seems
I'm
like
not sure how we got here either, but I
you
Motherfucker,
broadly
you
asked
know.
if whether we approved of I think it was Brittany's
No,
Nazi
I
German
asked that.
question. Yeah, okay.
Because
Yeah.
somehow we got to Nazi Germany, so I was just curious.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about great replacement, we have to, bring in historical
because
precedent
if
like
great
that.
replacement means all of a sudden we're going to become a Holocaust.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
Okay,
Speaking
well
on
let's talk
historical
about
precedent,
let's talk about how
Rhodesia.
we would do your ethno state. Do we kill them? Do we just ship them out?
Said that we want an ethno state, though.
See, it's
You
where they always
already
go.
said, but you want to close the borders and you want people ethnically segregated.
We want to
not
we want to
not
stop
forced.
immigration. That's all we've advocated for so far.
Okay, that's a broader thing. But then when I pressed you on a little bit, you said yes, it would be better if if neighborhoods were racially segregated or ethnically segregated. You
and I
said
think it would be
yes.
better if everyone had $1 million. Doesn't mean I got a plan to do that or that I'm trying to make that happen right now.
But it informs your reflexive inclination to support these sort of white supremacist, white identity.
Look,
you've already admitted that. You've already admitted that you like ethnic and racial segregation, and you think countries are better when they're racially, ethnically homogenous.
Well, it's not. I think that's
so
just.
I don't know why you're pretending like you would not rather see an America that is reflective of your majority, of your supermajority. You're playing fast and loose with it. You're playing approach avoidant with the fact, and then projecting when we start getting into it. But that is ultimately what you want.
Okay,
yes.
So here's the bottom line: is there is no humane way to get to there, so there's no point discussing it. I think that the world would be better off if nobody drove a Prius, but I'm not going to try and take them away from anybody. Okay, I think the world would be better in a lot of ways that I'm not advocating for. It's just my personal opinion. However, the point that I'm making and what I'm advocating for, just stopping immigration, is not like kicking anybody out or killing anybody or anything. It's funny how you can't talk about reducing immigration without people saying you want to kill people in this country.
I'm not saying that you want to kill anybody.
Well, the other guy did.
I did.
Okay. Here's what I'm saying though, but you can see now, drawing from, we can extrapolate from the fact that you want ethnic homogeneity and you want to stop traffic. Is there some essentialist trait about white, what's called, I don't know. I am still unsure about who's white. Are Slavic people white? You don't think the Khazars are white, apparently. So I'm really confused as who you think is white, number one, and what essentialist traits of those. I'm inclined to think that this is more fueled by racial animus than anything else. Specifically from that.
Where you're coming from. Okay, so here's the answer to that. The issue is not some essentialist trait. I'm not even making an argument based off of biology or like race realism or any of those scary words that you like. But what I'm saying is that there is a coalition of people of color in America, of which all of these immigrants from these other nations, the third world nations, would join, and that they are advocating for policies which are not good for white people in America, people who are not people of color. That's what I'll give as my definition of white people. People who are not people of color, who would be disaffected by policies which benefit people of color specifically, arguably at their expense, since they're paying the majority of the taxes. So, yeah, I think that alone is a reason to reduce the immigration, so that therefore this change doesn't happen so quickly before the American discourse evolves past this racial animosity from people of color against European descended people.
First of all, I see no evidence historically for there to be racist revenge narratives.
Black Lives Matter burning down half the country was just like it was just a normal thing.
Half America just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, literally, if F's in the chat for half of America, that's no longer
it's like
here.
the Great Scar in World of Warcraft. It's just like a big trench across the country.
Yeah. So, but the problem is you're talking about racial bills that are applied with surgical precision so as to literally exclude white people from it, when that's not how it goes. Now, you're talking about two different things. Now, there are bills that put stipulation and earmarks for underfunded, classically underserved areas where white people were white flighted the fuck out of there and went to move to the suburbs.
Why did they do that?
Because they think like you and they're racist.
Because they're racist. That's all. It had nothing to do with people not getting along, and it's like it's a totally normal thing for people who are successful and established in their communities to just uproot their entire lives just because of racism, right? It had nothing to do with their neighborhoods getting worse, the quality of life getting worse, racial tensions getting higher as increased numbers of other racial groups moved in with an animosity against them. That had nothing to do with the white flight phenomenon, right?
Yeah, I mean, neither of us are like happy about the fact that this is the case. I mean, we would happily live in a multiracial, multicultural society if it worked.
Is that true?
It just doesn't.
Brittany,
It doesn't.
your
Yeah,
pinned
absolutely. I would
tweet
be
on
fine
your
with it.
Twitter
I've
says you
never had
don't want to live in a
I had never had
multicultural
a
society.
Problem. Hold on. I never had a problem with
that
it
true?
until I
Yes,
went.
look at her Twitter.
What's happening here?
Your
Why
pinned tweet
talking?
says you don't want to live in a multicultural society.
Again, because it doesn't work. If it worked, I wouldn't care. I don't care. I have no hate for anybody. I don't, and neither does Mio.
It
We
does
don't
work.
hate any. What is happening? What are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Hi, Brittany.
Right. I'm saying that I would not have a problem with this if it worked.
It does.
But the problem is it doesn't.
No, it does
doesn't.
work. It's
No,
just
hold on.
Not
you
working
don't
out.
want it.
It
It's not
doesn't.
working out.
It's not working.
It is working. It's
No,
just
it's
you
not.
people. It's you
It's not
people.
working.
You have the
No, it's not.
unmitigated
Really, so, okay,
grievances.
again, here's another example. So if you put a bunch of different people in a room, like all these different types of group, and you are teaching them only one of those is a bad person, all the bad things that that
Oh,
one
are we doing
person
CRT
did,
now?
then
Are we doing
what
CRT?
happens? Do you think that all those other groups are going to be happy with that one person? No. You're bringing all these people into our country, telling them only one of these people are bad, and expecting things to like live harmonious. And it's the one person that's bad. If that's their country.
CRT
It's
in
their
my
fucking
classroom.
Is that one person in the room, little Timmy?
Little Timmy, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Shout out to
Little Timmy.
And here we are. We finally arrived, y'all.
Oh fuck! What the fuck?
Okay.
Oop,
So
there it
let's
goes.
hear it. What are your thoughts on little Timmy? You think
Fuck
he
little
deserves
Timmy.
it?
All my homies hate little Timmy.
Little Timmy sounds
I'm
like a
sure they
punk.
do.
You know,
I'm
I
sure
hear
they
that
do.
a lot. I hear
Yep.
that a lot. It's and it's funny that people will say I'm the problem, and it's even funnier that like this is how like half the nation feels, and yet you're unwilling.
Do you have any
to
statistics on that? That 50% of the nation feels the same way that you do.
Yeah, they voted for Donald Trump, right? They
Were
voted for
50% of the
Donald
Were
country
they in
voted
the
for Donald
fire
Trump.
that is gone now?
got
Was
Tucker
that half the
Carlson.
nation
Entire
that is
audience.
worried about this? Are they gone now? Did they die in the fire that BLM
got-
did?
You've got
Is that the
Tucker
half?
Carlson's entire audience. I saw this guy with a mullet last night. I tuned in for 5 minutes. It's all I could bear to listen to. But he's listening to Tucker Carlson.
That's all you could listen
like
to
white
before you
replacement
busted.
theory and all that. And these people will just be like, they're all racist, they're all evil, and blah blah. You can't have a discussion about this stuff anymore. It's not just two people who disagree who are trying to hash things out.
Do you think white is a
People who are
race?
like, you can't advocate for your people without being like hateful or wanting to kill people or something like that.
Well, you just said different things about being hateful or wanting to kill people. You said they're not racist. When you're talking about racial exclusion, you want literal racial hegemony.
I want to
a
reduce
basic-
immigration from everywhere. I want to reduce immigration. That's what I'm here to argue for. And again, you guys can't talk about reducing immigration without taking things to you want to kill people. You're genocidal. You see the problem with that?
You keep saying that, but I don't think it's been alleged.
What you don't think what's been alleged? He literally admitted he just said that 5 minutes ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I do think that your end game is the death, destruction, and destabilization of migrant communities.
I will take it on his word that he realizes that this is a neutered plan and it's impossible to enact the America that he wants. As a communist, I suffer from the same fucking thing every day.
True.
I do not see a path forward for the America that I want. So I can empathize with him not wanting to. However, it's unfortunate that whereas mine has the material needs of everybody met, his is a racially a mono-racial America of the white homogeneity. That's not necessarily my game plan, but I understand that he's earnest in his understanding that it's not going to happen. However, I would say broadly, I would say broadly that the immigration policies that you're dictating do not line up with the imagined disappearance of America. And if we enact good socialist policies, we would incentivize the birth rates to go up. It's really neoliberalism.
Here's
It's
the fun
really
part.
neoliberalism that's fucking curbing the birth rate. So
Here's-
if you really want to see people fucking, you have to make sure they have cheap apartments they can afford to live, and their birth rates will go up, and it'll be less of an issue. And
Okay.
even then, broadly,
That's
immigration is still a net positive.
We're
Here's
down.
hold on. Here's the fun part of that. You're talking about how your ideology, or whatever you want to call it, your plan is to have all the material needs of everyone in this nation met. But you literally said like 20 minutes ago that you refuse to trade stopping bringing more immigrants for having all the material needs of everyone in America met.
You
Yeah, we
said
can do
not
both.
your
healthcare.
plan.
You
Your
said
plan is just
healthcare.
bringing more third
You
world.
said healthcare. You
Well,
said
that's a pretty
healthcare.
damn big material need for
It's
most
a
Isn't
big
that like
one.
the number one thing that a lot
Yeah,
of
for all
the far
for
left
all-
are pushing?
majority of
I
Americans.
said that because I don't know what the trade-offs of that would be. I don't know if I don't know about the economic underpinnings of mass exclusion of new immigration. I don't know what that would do to the economy specifically.
It's
Yeah,
funny
I
fuck
how
don't
it
know
up.
if one is
categorize
better
it
than
as
the other.
exclusion, like they have a right to come here, that we would be denying them. It's actually the opposite. They have no right to come here. They've been invited, and we've done this in the past, as you've said. You know, we've had short waves of immigration followed by a stop to it with assimilation periods. And if we did simply that, and that we would be better equipped to afford the health care which everyone wants here in America. I'm here to advocate for benefiting the American people, not the global third world masses. If we become a strong enough nation economically, we already take care of that for ourselves and everything. I'm all for foreign aid to help them. I'm all
Yeah,
for helping all
you
the
guys
other people of the
you guys
world.
probably
But I
have a
want to
lot
help
of-
America first.
You guys probably have a lot of economic I don't know what you are, Gremloe. I don't know, are you a who are your content creators that you follow? You have like black and red nails, so I'm guessing Hassan.
At least
Hmm?
one of them, commie.
Oh
Are
no.
you a Hassan follower?
No, I'm a First Amendment auditor.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Also,
Okay.
we're gonna wrap up in about
He's a-
10 minutes. So.
He's an oath keeper.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're probably
I
a
was at the
Hassan
Capitol.
follower. Are you a socialist? Are you a communist?
I'm a Posadist.
Can you like answer the question?
No,
He
I'm-
is.
yeah,
He's just-
that's fucking
he's a
Posadist. What?
He's a Trotskyite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're communists. He's a commie. So
All right, so
it's
What
like
do you-
when the fascists are like,
you guys
I'm a third positionist.
Yeah, you guys-
You think it sounds nicer?
you guys probably would have very similar goals to a lot of the people that are pushing some of these things. And the issue is, so like we're asking you what's more important basically to you. These economic goals you have, which is the most important thing I believe to a lot of you. Or being in this multiracial society.
Closing down the border would not magically create a
But what if it
situation
did?
where
But
that's what
it's
it is.
not
That's
because the
not
people
how
who
it
want
works,
the border
though.
closed are fucking
Hypothetical.
But what about
conservative
technology that's going
neoliberals.
to take over? What about automation that's going to take over?
I
what
reject the
about
underlying
increasing
premise.
birth
I
rates that's gonna
reject
take
the
over?
underlying premise because the people who want the border closed are fucking they're conservative neoliberals.
I can't
Who
engage
do
with your
not-
We're not.
hypothetical because I don't
We're not.
like the answer.
No, because it's stupid.
Conservative
Because it's
neoliberals
fucking
That's like
brain
saying, well,
dead.
whatever,
It makes
that's
no
free
sense.
And then the
labor.
liberals do this, but that's not the way the world works, and it's not how that ideology trends. The ideology trends.
Neoliberals want the borders open. It's free labor for them.
Yeah, right. They're literally like these guys are
Not the
just like
conservatives.
pawns for these capitalists, which they claim to be against. They are literally doing exactly what they want. It's funny because the left of 20 years ago would have been arguing my position.
Yeah, fuck them hoes.
The unions were stopping the immigrant scab labor from happening because the capitalist elites wanted to just bring in more immigrants so they could lower the wages.
That's not an issue with
That's
immigration.
what
That's an
these
issue
people
with
are
capitalism.
arguing for.
I am
It
not.
just
I
shows
am
how
not.
fake they
Hey,
are.
Some
hey, I am
communists.
not an anarchist. I'm not an anti-statist. I'm for a cohesive organization, or wherein workers' rights are respected and their surplus value is fucking. It's stolen as little as possible. I'm for unions. I'm for workers' rights. I'm for people. I'm for all that stuff. However,
You just want to undermine all of them.
the people who are immigrating here are really displacing low education people. They're and which I have a problem with.
machines are gonna do
You
By
know
the
that's
way.
majority people of color.
No,
right?
it is not.
education, low
No, it is not. I actually have a study.
No, of course you do.
The average
because I actually bring
African-American
shit. Because I
IQ
actually
is
know what the fuck I'm talking
85,
about,
dude.
Brittany.
The average
Of course.
African American IQ is 85, and you want to replace them with immigrants from other nations. Those are
Never
the
said that.
low-skilled workers that you're talking about. So
And-
Never
you're
said
trying
that.
to disaffect black people now, African Americans. That's pretty racist. So far, you're racist and
So
anti-Semitic.
you're not a racist, but you're talking about IQ of African Americans as an essentialist trait.
I'm not as an essentialist trait, just as a matter of fact currently, and therefore, you just said I want to displace the low IQ, low skilled workers. Well, you're talking about people of color, dude. So that's pretty
I do
damn
agree.
racist.
I do agree demographically that the people who are at risk of immigration happen to be marginal people who are living in
you don't
underserved
care about
communities. Let me
You
fucking
don't care
talk.
about them.
I'm not saying that I don't talk or I don't care. What I'm saying is broadly that is a reality of the externality. That is true. That the people who would be affected by immigration are people who are living in underserved communities where they don't have good schools. So I say, number one, how about we start worrying about schools? How about we start?
I mean,
And
again,
you're broadly,
you want to worry about
broadly-
schools, but you also want to take their jobs and give them to foreigners, man. It's like you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth here. You're like, oh yeah, we should benefit them, and also enact policies which directly harm them.
You want me to talk about a hypothetical, for instance? Yes, what I would want is different than what's going to happen. I see America becoming more and more neoliberal, and in that context, with how I see people trending, I don't see a reason to arbitrarily exclude people of diverse and ethnographic backgrounds from immigrating here.
The reason
Because
is
I don't think this neoliberalism is going anywhere. Because I'm realistic.
The reason is, as you said, it disaffects American people.
Unless we dump more money into the underserved communities and the education centers.
What about when automation also takes a lot of those jobs, and we're bringing in people that are pretty much going to take those jobs as well? We're supposed to take care of the people that's going to displace here.
You tax the you tax the AIs, you tax the robot.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good policy, actually. Tax the AI.
Yeah, 100%. And you do you subsidize their income. Yeah, I agree. That's definitely an issue.
Shouldn't we be taking care of the people that are going to be from here that are going to be displaced versus the ones that we don't actually technically we don't need them. They're not.
We have no obligation to them.
Yeah, they're not entitled to just come here.
Okay, but what about the downshore implications of neoliberalism, i.e., in the supply chain, which is fomenting these climate change? Our policies right now are exacerbating I think that if we don't deal with climate change right now, I don't think we are prepared for the influx of people who are going to want to live here later on down the road.
Okay, so are you more concerned with climate change or bringing in third worlders? Which one's more important to you? If you could stop immigration and achieve your climate change goals, would you do that? Yes or no?
How would stopping immigration stop?
No, it's not that.
Change?
Look, here's the point of a hypothetical. I could say if you had green hair and a dragon that eats people with green hair came up to you and wanted to eat you, what would you do? That's a hypothetical. It doesn't matter if it's fucking real or not. The point is, what would you do in that hypothetical scenario? And you've refused to engage with single hypothetical.
Hypotheticals are when I make shit up.
Everyone can see through it, man, and it's because you don't like the answers that you would be forced to give.
Restate that hypothetical again. What even was that? What did you say?
Is there any? Okay, I have a question.
About dragons that eat people with green hair? It doesn't fucking matter.
You said if I could stop immigration, what if I stopped immigration and climate change stopped?
What's the most important policy goal you have? What's the most important policy goal you have?
What if Bill Gates and Elon Musk came to you and told you, we will throw all 100% of our net worth into stopping climate change and preventing that if you close the borders and stop immigration? Would you take that deal?
What is your most important policy goal, though?
I don't.
Like immigration.
It's not. What do you mean? It seems like
No,
immigration.
I don't.
Specifically, the context of this panel is specifically immigration.
Both of you guys.
That's why we're talking about immigration.
Hi. What is your most important? What is when you are pushing for all this stuff that you guys push for? What is it you are trying to achieve? If you can pick one thing in the entire
Putting
world,
Nazis in a meat grinder.
True.
That's very nice. First of all,
well,
all right.
That's accurate. I genuinely believe that that's actually his unironic.
No, I don't think. No, he's memeing right now. But like, let's not meme and let's answer the question.
They don't want to give answers to questions because they know that they know where we're going with this.
Here, hold on.
They'd be forced to give answers they don't want to give.
So before Mythic, so I'll let Mythic answer, and then once we do that, we're gonna go into closing statements. So.
And I want what's his face to answer too, Gremloe.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? You wanted my answer too?
I'm a
Vote.
communist. I want a cashless, stateless society.
Okay.
I mean, I can pretty much second that. I don't have like one specific policy that I harp on the most.
And so we're asking you, if we close the borders and you were able to get that, would you trade that?
I reject
you
the premise
rather-
of the argument. I
Okay,
wouldn't. I
would you
wouldn't
rather,
make the choice.
let's say there's two countries.
I would
There's-
say
there's
I
a
would agree.
homogenous-
I would agree that very broadly, to enact that sort of communism, you would need a very ribald, a very strong fucking border system. True, just like China, it's very hard to immigrate there because their fucking economy is booming right now, and a lot of people want in on it, and they have stringent immigration policies. That's true.
Okay. One last question. Last question. If there are two countries, one is racially homogenous but communist, like you want your kind of whatever, and another country is multicultural, multiracial, all of this, but neoliberal capitalist like this one, which country would you rather live in?
The diverse one for the food and music.
Yeah, true.
Yep. That's I believe that is your true unironic answer. Not even memeing. I believe you. Anyway,
Perfect.
All right.
I
So
guess we're in.
yeah, so this was really fun. So let's go and close the statements. Tell us on the topic at hand and where we can find you. So we'll start with Gremloe.
Yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/Gremloe, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. News, politics, reacts, all the fun stuff. I feel like the only thing I can really glint from this discussion is that, much like the great replacement theory is a myth, the people who espouse it are only able to engage with the world in absurd hypotheticals and fairy tales. That's it.
All right, Mythic Politics.
Hi, yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/Gremloe, and I'm on Twitter as the Pajamatariat. And also, I've learned that I actually wouldn't know what to do, and I need to reconsider my life options because I have not been preparing for the fact that if I met a dragon that eat green-haired people and I had green hair, I would have no defense for it. So that's what I have learned.
Hang out
Should
with
have
us.
scaled an intellect.
Yeah.
All right, Mio.
hey, well, okay. Well, this was an interesting discussion. I think what's happening here is everyone's audience can see here that we've exposed these two guys as fake lefties, fake communists. They're more interested in perpetuating immigration than any single economic goal at all whatsoever, or even all of them combined. They're not willing to sacrifice anything for reducing immigration. If you say you want to reduce it, they say you want to kill people, and you're a Nazi and all of this stuff. Meanwhile, they are literally anti-Semitic and somewhat racist, given that they're arguing for policies that disaffect the people of color specifically more than anyone else. So, that's kind of a problem. And yeah, I don't think that the topic was engaged with at all. I think their refusal to engage with any hypotheticals was like is very telling, given that they just don't like the answers. I think everyone in the audience saw the answers coming, and as did they, and that's why they refused to give them. Anyway, this went exactly how I expected it to go. I've had much better conversations on this topic. Even if you're watching, shout out to Sanzel, you're literally like head and shoulders above these guys. Coming from me, that's saying something. Yeah, you can find me on Politically Provoked. Go to Odyssey, search Politically Provoked in the search bar. You'll see it there. And yeah, that's, I guess, my closing statement.
All right. And
Sure was long.
Yeah,
It's
and
America
last but not
first,
least,
bitch.
Brittany.
incredible.
Yeah, so this is fun. I guess I would echo a lot of what Mio said. And I'm at least on Twitch for now, but at twitch.tv/Provoked Brittany, and I'll be doing stuff probably with Mio and our hosts and stuff on there. We're not doing our actual show on Twitch because you guys would never allow it. Kind of part of the point. We're not allowed to talk about a lot of
Wonder
these
why.
things. We're not allowed to talk about a lot of these things. You're just like shoved off platforms. You can't push for it. So there's a imbalance fight that's going on where the other side is allowed to fight for stuff and you can't counter it because they're just all shoved off of the platforms. It's another big thing that I am interested in. If anybody wants to debate me on, platforming and little Timmy or any kind of Me Too stuff. That's the stuff I like. But other than that, thanks Alexa for hosting this. We'll probably be going for a little bit. We're going to be having a panel a conspiracy theory panel that Justin and Todd are talking about with something with Hollywood and
Hollywood blood harvesting
Yeah.
vampires. It should be
Alrighty.
interesting. Only on Politically Provoked on Odyssey.
True. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm Queen Alexa. I run the Political Shit Show. I want to thank all y'all for coming, especially 3 of these people being new to the Political Shit Show, such as Mythic Politics, Mio, and Gremloe. You know I love you, Mythic and Gremloe, and Mio, and I will continually troll you, Mythic, because you're my favorite person to troll on Twitch. I love
Thank
you.
you. I
Mullet.
appreciate
Broke
it.
it till I fall asleep. All
Yeah.
right. I want to thank y'all for coming. This was really fun.
Thank you, Alexa, for hosting it.
Yep.
Peace. Free Palestine.
10 seconds later.
Yeah, so that went fucking terribly. I felt you did very good. I feel like I was very quiet. I don't know. It's
Really? I
It's,
feel the opposite. I feel like you were spitting hot fire.
well, I didn't research any sense because I knew it wouldn't really come down to it. Now it's interesting that there was someone who specifically messaged me. They're like, they're going to go in on Rhodesia and South apartheid. And what the guy told me is like basically Rhodesia wasn't. It's not even a real state. Don't even like. Don't let them deflect. Be like, just don't accept the premise of Rhodesia. So that's why I just kind of was like, instead of arguing, because I don't know shit about history and or geography, so I was just like, fuck Rhodesia. I don't fuck with Rhodesia. And then I think it gave him nowhere to go. I think that kind of worked on ironically. It's like
Yeah, anytime someone brings up a country that I have no idea what happened there, I'm just like, I don't accept it as a real country.
Yeah, true. I don't. Same thing as Ukraine, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like you did like much better because I got a little irritated with the ridiculous hypotheticals.
I couldn't even make heads or tails of the hypotheticals, but it's like, okay, well, how about this? How about if I kill every puppy and then you communism? It's like, but how would one infer the other? I don't.
Yeah.
Normally hypotheticals are sort of based on something like that is you could extrapolate, or it shows an extreme example of a thing. What if we did all this and then this happened or something like that? But I think what they're doing, I think they use hypotheticals in that way to suss out what your ideology is.
Yeah.
They're like, which would you rather have, or to suss out what the true, or to show you the utilitarian end case of doing that.
Exactly.
Which I think broadly worked. But I think what was hard for them, what I was wrestling with during the thing is they were talking about what I want versus the system that is, i.e. like neoliberalism. Under neoliberalism, immigration is a net benefit.
Yeah. Like that
But
was the
that's
whole
not-
thing. It's like they couldn't even accept that, like, okay, well, it's a boon to our economy. We need immigrant labor. If our birth rate is low, well, we don't have the timeline to, I don't know, incentivize people to, not use protection. And then there's other myriad of factors that go alongside that. Like, okay, so we need immigration. It's not even like we need to slow down immigration to X amount of people per year. It's like, no immigration. It's like, okay, well, now we need to talk about how we're going to supplement our economy. Like,
and then I was
labor?
really unsure of when they're talking about specifically, when pressed, like, what specifically are the policies that you think favor people of color or non-white people? Another one, they didn't want to answer who was non-white. They didn't want to answer if Slavic people were white or Khazarian people were white, or they didn't want to engage in that question. Or I think someone in the chat said, what about Arab people? What about, I think he said, what the fuck is the term? It's for Spanish, Castilian people or whatever,
or something. I don't know.
Was it mestizo?
Mestizo, I think.
It's like basically Spanish, like blue-eyed Mexican Mexican people, and stuff like that. Like those are good questions, and I would say broadly that they actually might like those people immigrating. To be honest,
Well, considering that they vote overwhelmingly for the Republicans, then yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a more of a complexion-based thing, but I think that was frustrating because and then when asking them to articulate who when they're drawing a circle around the term white, who do you put in that Venn diagram, right? They were flipping it around and making me define who wasn't white, which I think was frustrating. And then when you say like that's not how I view the world, I think that's wrong to racially segment people in your head like that. And so I'm asking you to define it, and they flip it around on you. And when you're saying, but that's not my thing, they say you're equivocating or you're ducking the question. Which is a good tactic, i.e. you have to agree with my premise in order to argue against my premise, which is, neuters you.
Yeah, it's that old adage, like, you can't, debate stupid people because you have to go down to their intellectual level. I don't know, it's just, like, existing in two different realities. I don't, especially with the hypotheticals that Mio was bringing up. It's like, dude, where is this going? What is the point of this? I don't even know, like, what I would do in that scenario. I don't know.
Do you think you as a gamer are more uniquely prepared for the green-haired eating person eating dragon?
Probably. You know, I've got Elden Ring pre-ordered, so maybe give me like 84 hours in that, and I think I might be okay.
What is that game? Dark Souls, the one I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of like rolling moves with like long broadswords and stuff like that. Do you think that playing a game like that might enable you to do better against the green-haired person eating dragon?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the green hair part. I'm not sure if they're like scaling in arcane or if they're like, blood tinge, if we're talking Bloodborne, but I don't know, but probably, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you so yeah, no, I think you did very good. I think that what I was flummoxed, I think that this is broadly good. I need to practice being on panels more, and it's hard because like I've got to be honest, I do not often encounter like white supremacist things, and I think one of the main things that they were doing, I think he did a very good job. If I was going to give Mio praise, it's hiding his Nazi power level. He was very, very good about that and qualifying what it was. He said overtly, well, we're not talking about conspiracy theories, as if he gets to set the discourse for some reason.
Well, we are though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like that, and I like how broadly he was talking about, look, it doesn't matter, even though essentially when it comes down to the day, he was making literally essentialist traits about black people, 85% or 85 IQ, that kind of weird shit. But although doing a reverse thing, the cognitive incapacity to learn a language being forced on you, even though it's like apropos of nothing because there's never been a policy that mandated people learn the language in America, or I don't know. It was a bunch of weird. It was a bunch of weird things that I had not encountered. I wanted
to follow that rabbit hole down a little further. It's like, so you're saying that legacy Americans, which it's like what they use now, the people that you want to protect so badly, are too stupid to learn a second language? Like, do you hate your own people that much? What? Are we just a bunch of losers?
Legacy American. You know what I was struggling with was, what do you call first generation American? Is the children of or like the children of immigrants, right? I was fucking up. I couldn't even remember in my head during the debate which was who's first generation. Is it people that move here or their kids?
Oh, I don't know. I just know the statistic that like third generations are completely assimilated into the society, like after prolonged generations.
And I wanted to go into that, but so I just kept on calling the immigrants. The people who came here first, because I didn't know what to call. I don't know who. I think their kids are the first generation. I don't know. So I was like sitting there. Half the time I was like, do I just actually go open up a tab and browse and like Google this right now? Because I don't actually know.
I mean,
people who move here are first generation. Is that true?
I mean, that makes sense because you're first generation to dwell.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you going live?
No, not for a number of hours.
Okay, I was gonna raid into you.
I appreciate that, but yeah, not for a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I technically could.
I mean, that's up to you. If you want to like get some snackies, take a shower first. I don't know.
Gremloe, Mythic Politics, first generation is the immigrants. Why don't we? Yeah, you can raid into me. How about I just go live?
Yeah, if you're going live, I'll do that.
Okay.
James raided me, so you got 62 coming in hot.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you, Gremloe.
Yeah, no problem. Great job tonight. You are much more skilled an orator than I am, and I like how you kept drawing things back to neoliberal austerity policies.
I think that was, but I think you did a very good job. But we can chat. We can chat here in a second.
Yeah.
Good job, Broadley.
Oh, thank you.